So oftentimes in meditation we try to become the observer of what it is that we are experiencing in the moment, to kind of get an objective sense of what we experience without getting sucked into any story about what it is that we experience. So at first, when you start out and have this idea in your mind to watch the breath, to experience sensations arising and passing away, there is an artificial duality that's created there. And this should be regarded as a helpful duality. But I also want to speak today about the process in which this attitude, this recognition of the observer actually is used to dissolve all dualities and leads to the insight of non-duality or oneness or emptiness. So how do you actually come to the point where you recognize that you have a problem? And what is that problem? So you go through life, you recognize, oh, my usual way of relating to things isn't that skillful. And what that means is that you have the problem of identification. You have carved out of the whole field of experience some part that you identify with. And once you have done that, there are good things that can happen to this part of experience, and then there are bad things that can happen to this part. And usually that's your personality or your body, your friends, family, your environment that you are caring for, whatever, your possessions, your ideas, your mind, your beliefs about reality, religion, whatever. You have come to believe to be some part of the whole. And in the process of meditation, you're engaging a new viewpoint. You're creating purposefully a new identification for yourself, which is beyond all the other identifications that you have chosen so far. So you become the watcher. But what is the watcher? And before you can clarify that, you really have to engage that perspective and not prematurely say, oh, that's just further duality that's created. This is actually the process and the creation of this new identification. It's going to dissolve all other. And once you have dissolved all other identification, then you can come to the question, okay, now let me dissolve the viewpoint, the last remaining identification as well. So in that process, you are going to look at everything that's arising in your experience and just let it be. You just become accustomed to life, to reality as it is, without any preferences, without any desires to get something or aversions to avoid something. So you're not pushing anything away and you're not holding on to anything. And that leads to momentary awareness, to momentary insight, momentary concentration, so that you just see things arising and passing in the same moment, always fresh, instantly. But then, when the identifications are naturally dissolved through that process of seeing everything arise and pass away, when you see that, you naturally drop any identification over time. You cannot force this. It will happen because you see that everything is just impermanent. None of your identifications as something in there to be lasting and permanent and being a kind of self that you can hold on to will dissolve through those insights. But then there will be this remaining idea that somehow you are the consciousness perceiving it all. You are the awareness in which all of that takes place. And then this gets even subtler. So you are looking for, okay, what is that actually made of? Maybe there are also sensations connected to the sense of being this consciousness in which all the rest that you have already observed is happening. So in essence, the blind spot of what you call yourself is continuously shrinking until you have identified and seen through even the last little bit of identification that you call the watcher. But until then, keep up that kind of attitude, that duality. It will dissolve itself eventually through the same practice, through the same method of just continuously observing things arising and passing away in the moment. That's what Vipassana is. Just insight practice. Becoming present and aware to what is this moment, this moment, this moment, this moment, this moment, this moment. All the time. Until even the sense of time dissolves. So really the practice here, it's not really a practice, the practice stays the same. The insight that leads you to the dissolving of the watcher is going to come through those same practices. But it will just be that more and more is brought into the light of awareness, which previously were moments that you weren't perceiving clearly. So you need to really just be patient with the process and allow things to reveal themselves to you in their own time. It's like when there is the lake that is full of ripples on the surface. The wind is blowing over, leaves are falling into, animals and fish are jumping out of the water all the time. The stuff happening in your life, it's arising all the time. It's disturbing the surface of the lake. Your consciousness is continuously disturbed and grasped and drawn into the phenomena arising on its so-called empty screen. But how do you let the lake be very smooth and very even and completely flat so that you can actually see the quality of the lake itself? That it's the completely reflective nature of the surface. You do that by not engaging with the surface. You are trying not to touch it. And even the trying is more doing that you have to let go of. So we are not trying to pat down the waves on the surface. And this is a delicate approach, because how do you actually let go of that doing? Because you are so habituated to that. So you just make sure that you have your practice that ensures the right framework. You take all the motivation that's necessary to bring you to your meditation, to let you sit down to practice for your dedicated period each day. You muster all the external motivation and the reading and hearing and listening to these spiritual insights that you need in order to get there, to get you to do that. But then you have to make the switch that you bring none of that with you into your practice. You can't bring those words, those sentences, those concepts that you have learned in spirituality with you to the cushion. That would be like trying to pat down the waves on the lake, on the surface of the lake. It's not going to work. You're just creating more ripples. So whatever you think you have to do in meditation is only helpful up to a point, that it is to bring you to that insight of just pure being. So here really I want just to point out that from a certain perspective you need to engage this sense of being the watcher, of being something that is guiding this process of inquiry, of looking at what reality is. But then also let that dissolve at a certain point in your practice. Not making it into another solidified identification. So don't think that you are pure consciousness or awareness or anything separate from that which is arising in the moment. So this is an advanced pointer. I hope this is helpful to some of you who are maybe at this point and are looking for the next step. And if you want to have help with your own practice, if you want to have a one-on-one conversation with me about your practice, have some hint of what you should be doing next, maybe you can just contact me. It's available through my website. The link is down below. And yeah, with that, thank you for watching and see you in the next video. Goodbye.